Now it's recording.
Okay. So now we're recording in video and we've come off the live stream and we'll upload the video at the end of our session. That makes it simple, right? Okay. So we were just about to get into the philosophy and then Baladev Prabhu came along and we spent 1 hour glorifying Baladev Prabhu to purify our hearts, to be able to give a sitting place for the next inload of divine wisdom, knowledge. So I'll read from the previous bracket. Brajanath, I can read if you like for a little while.
Yeah.
Brajanath humbly told him, he's speaking to Raghunath Das Babaji now. Remember, what has happened so far is that Vijay Kumar, who is the uncle of Brajanath, that means Brajanath's mother is Vijay Kumar's sister. So he's come to stay with his sister, Brajanath's mother. And Brajanath has expressed his sentiments about his attraction to Vaishnavism. Previously, Brajanath was very much a Nyaya scholar, defeating everyone in Navadvip, great famous scholar. But now, as we understood, he's become very attracted to... When Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes these characters like this, he's showing like as if we are becoming more attracted to becoming Vaishnavas. We empathize with Brajanath. We become like the hero, Brajanath, more or less. We are hearing about his questions and we're associating with Brajanath like that. So now Brajanath's uncle, Vijay Kumar, who's actually already quite an advanced devotee, he's not a Raganuga Bhakta yet. That takes place in the last portion of the book. But he's very much a student of Srimad Bhagavatam. He gives Bhagavatam lectures regularly. This is his whole mood, Vijay Kumar. So Brajanath and Vijay Kumar have come to Mayapur. They've come to Srivasangam, and Brajanath is introducing his uncle, Vijay Kumar. And Vijay Kumar is going to ask some questions to Raghunath Das Babaji. So I'll start from page 431, the first paragraph down. Brajanath humbly told him everything, and the Vaishnavas seated them with utmost respect. Vijay Kumar then inquired submissively from Srimad Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, Prabhu, by what means can the ultimate aim, prayojan, for all jivas be achieved? Please be merciful and tell us how we can attain that prayojan. This is the most beautiful question. No one could ask a more beautiful question. It's like Sanatana Goswami when he asked Mahaprabhu, Ki ami? Who am I? Everyone calls me a scholar, everyone calls me a great person, but I know that's not really true in my heart. So who am I? So when you ask these types of enormous questions, it's very inspiring for the teacher to actually divulge this transcendental knowledge. Now he can say everything. Now Raghunath Das can say everything, focusing on the prayojan. This means the Abhideya Tattva. So Babaji, you are Shuddha Bhaktas. So already Raghunath is appreciating that these two Dhamvasis, both the Dhamvasis, so we appreciate the elevation of Brajanath and Vijay Kumar. They're not just regular street people that have just come in out of some hellish conditioned life. They've actually had a birth of purified existence already in the holy Dham. They have a purified consciousness already. My Gurudev used to say many times, when you come to this path, if you have this sanskar from a previous birth, you can go very quickly on this path. But if you're coming with all sorts of difficulties, abuses, etc., all these kind of things from this birth, then it's not always so easy to go forward. But it doesn't restrict your forward progress. It just means that you have extra bumps in the road that have to be navigated and purified along the way. So we appreciate these two personalities. You are Shuddha Bhaktas, and everything is within your grasp. Still, Since you have mercifully asked, I will explain whatever little I know. Again, this mood of humility. Raghunath Das Babaji is a self-realized soul, but he's saying whatever little I know, I will tell you. Because again, he's thinking that he doesn't know anything. If we have the impression that, yes, I know so much, that's our disqualification. It's like a huge heavy door will slam as soon as we think that. Krishna Bhakti, which is free from any trace of gyan and karma, is the prayojan, ultimate aim, for all jivas, and it is also the means of attainment. During the stage of spiritual practice, sadhana avashta, it is called sadhan bhakti, and in the liberated stage, siddha avastha, it is called devotional service performed in prema bhakti, pure love. So now we're going to be described the the pathway in how to progress in our devotional service. Babaji, Vijay, what are the intrinsic characteristic Swarup Lakshan of bhakti? So now Babaji, by the order of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Sri Rupa Goswami has described the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti in Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:11 as follows. You going to chant it?
अन्याभिलाषितशून्यं ज्ञानकर्माद्यनावृतम् आनुकुल्येन कृष्णानुशीलनं भक्तिरुत्तमम्.
Uttam Bhakti, pure devotional service, is the cultivation of activities that are meant exclusively for the benefit of Sri Krishna. In other words, the uninterrupted flow of service to Sri Krishna. Actually, it's times like this that we need 4 arms, to extra arms to do things. Performed through all endeavors of body, mind, and speech, and through expression of various spiritual sentiments, bhavs. It is not covered by gyan, knowledge of Nirvishesh Brahm, aimed at impersonal liberation, or karma, reward-seeking activity, yoga, or austerities. It is completely free from all desires other than the aspiration to bring happiness to Sri Krishna. So in this verse, it's 4 lines. So it's divided. The first 2 lines are called the Tatashta Lakshan. That's the external aspect. The next 2 lines are the Swarup Lakshan. That's the internal aspect of what is Shuddha Bhakti, what is Swarup Siddha Bhakti, what is pure Bhakti. It also is going to include Arop Siddha Bhakti and Sangha Siddha Bhakti. Rupa Goswami is including that. This sutra very clearly describes both the Swarup Lakshan, intrinsic characteristics, and the Tatashta Lakshan, extrinsic symptoms of bhakti. The word Uttam Bhakti refers to pure devotional service. Devotional service mixed with fruitive activities, karma mishra bhakti, and devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, are not pure devotional service. So understand, if we're performing our devotional service but with a mood to actually increase our material well-being, this is Karma Mishra Bhakti. If we're performing our devotional service with a mood of increasing our knowledge of the Brahman, of Nirvishesh Brahm, that's called Jiva Brahm Aikya Gyan, then this is Gyan Mishra Bhakti. So understand fully the distinctions between these types of bhakti. Is sense gratification, and the aim of devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge, Gyan Mishra Bhakti, is liberation. So desiring either bhukti or mukti are like 2 witches, which will be described. Bhukti mukti spriha yavat vischachi vartate. Hridi vartate. That will be described. Only such devotional service, free from any trace of desire for fruitive results or liberation, is Uttam Bhakti, pure devotional service. Actually, these are all very beautifully described also in Bhakti Tattva Vivek. This whole verse, Anyabilasita Sunyam, there's 4 chapters in Bhakti Tattva Vivek, and each 4 chapters deal with 1 line of that verse. So this is a most valuable book to appreciate about what is Shuddha Bhakti. You have this? I read. I wrote. Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful, beautiful book. Yes, very special book. The fruit of bhakti is prem. The Swarup Lakshan of bhakti is endeavors favorable for Krishna, Krishnanushilanam, performed with body, mind, and speech, and loving attitude of mind, Pritimaya Manasa. Such endeavors, chesta, and spiritual sentiments, bhavs, are both favorable, anukul, and constantly dynamic. They're dynamic. It's like contrary to other practices where it becomes somewhat static. If we find that our practice has become somewhat static and lethargic, we know that something is not correct and we have to review honestly and check our situation or ask a senior God brother to help us. Are both favorable, anukul, and constantly dynamic. By the mercy of Krishna and his bhaktas, when the special function of the internal energy of Bhagavan manifests upon the jiva's own spiritual strength, then the true form, swarup, of bhakti takes birth. So that's very interesting. That when Bhagavan's potency manifests on the jiva's inherent potency, the jiva by nature is nitya siddhyasya bhavasya prakatam hri satyate. Rupa Goswami is saying that. So the nature of the jiva is to have this spiritual potency. But when the Hladini Shakti manifests and mixes with our own understanding, then it becomes pure devotional service. Then we make the connection with Krishna. Then really pure devotional service can transpire. Without having the connection, it's just like endeavor, so to speak. There has to be connection. You understand? Clear? I'll read that again because it's very special. By the mercy of Krishna and his bhaktas, when it says and his bhaktas, this means the Mahabhagavats, the pure devotees. When the special function of the internal energy, this Antaranga Shakti, our internal energy of Bhagavan, manifests upon the jiva's own spiritual strength. The jiva has some strength from Krishna, manifests on the jiva's own spiritual strength, then the true form, swarup, of bhakti takes birth. In the present state, the jiva's body, mind, and speech are all materially afflicted. When the jiva directs them by his own discrimination, the result is only dry speculation and renunciation. Without this mood of Sharanagat, how can Sharanagat transpire when we have so much pride in our hearts of our own accomplishments, etc., in any area of our lives? When that pride is there, then nothing can actually manifest through. When the jiva directs them by his own discrimination, the result is only dry. What's that called? Aroha panta. Aroha panta is my effort to try and climb out of this conditioned place. But what is avaroha panta? Avaroha panta, like avatar, it means descending. We take shelter submissively under the lotus feet of all our previous acharyas' teachings. It's that kripa, it's that mercy that's going to pull us out of our conditioned state, not our own efforts. Our own efforts must be there to make contact with them, but our own efforts must be focused to connect with our previous acharyas' teachings and submit to them fully and understand this avaroha panta, this descending path, not the ascending path. Um, and when the jiva directs his own discrimination, the result is only dry speculation and renunciation, and the true nature of bhakti does not manifest through them. However, when Krishna's Swarup Shakti becomes active in the jiva's body, mind, and speech, the nature of pure bhakti immediately becomes manifest. So that particle of Krishna within all of us that will be supported by the connection with Krishna directly. And then our bhakti can go forward very quickly. The ultimate aim of all spiritual activities is Sri Krishna, and that is why real devotional activity must be favorable towards Krishna. Endeavors performed for realization of Brahm and Paramatma are not accepted as pure bhakti. We talked about Paramatma realization. It's somewhat impersonal. The yogi, Astanga yogi, he sees the Paramatma feature in everybody, but he's not connecting with Bhagavan. And he has an ulterior motive to performing that Astanga yoga and that connection with Paramatma, rather than the Vaishnava or the Bhakta who wants to embrace the lotus feet of Bhagavan. This is a whole mood of devotion. What?
I want to do some kind of. Even now, we cannot see these Ashtanga yogis who really meditate to Paramatma. Actually, it is only physical exercises.
Yes.
You know, we cannot see, but you will see. I haven't seen in my life. No,
I'm seeing.
you see?
They live in the Himalayas and places like this. He's talking about yogis who,
Maybe it is 100
in the
meters
Himalayas and places like that, in caves and so on, there are some elevated yogis in the Paramatma line, in Astanga yogis. They are there. Don't worry. They are certainly there. Don't go near them.
It is
You'll be
special,
attracted.
sacred place.
Yes, yes, secret places. Yeah. Endeavors are not accepted as pure bhakti. Rather, they are aspects of speculative knowledge, gyan, and fruitive activities, karma, respectively. Yes, so this is like gyan kand, this path of Paramatma also. There are two types of endeavors, those that are favorable and those that are unfavorable. Only favorable activities are considered to be devotional service. We know in this verse that when Krishna was fighting in the arena of Kamsa, Krishna loves to fight and wrestle, and he was quite happy fighting with Chanura and Balaram fighting with Mustika. They were very happy. But is this bhakti because Krishna was pleased? Is it bhakti on the part of Chanura or Mustika? No. It is completely opposed to bhakti because they wanted to kill Krishna. So that can be not favorable. That is unfavorable. And then Mother Yashoda. There's vyapti and ativyapti. These two aspects are described. There's an overextension of the rule and an underextension of the rule in our endeavors. So Mother Yashoda, she bound Krishna. Krishna was very unhappy with that. Is that bhakti on the part of Mother Yashoda? Yes, it is bhakti, because ultimately she wanted to feed Krishna that milk. She wanted to make a special milk that was more attractive than everyone else in the neighborhood where Krishna was taking the butter from. So Mother Yashoda's dealing with Krishna, even though Krishna was unhappy, this is still favorable for bhakti. So these two examples are given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to illuminate this point of this anukulyena, what is favorable and unfavorable. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur is going to explain this. The word anukulyena means the tendency to be favorably disposed towards Krishna. This tendency has some connection with the material world during the period of devotional practice, sadhan kala. But in the liberated stage, siddha kala, it is utterly pure, free from any connection with the material world. The characteristics of bhakti are the same in both these stages. Therefore, the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti and endeavors for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness performed with favorable sentiments. I have to read that again. What's the time, by the way? Someone tell me.
5:45.
The characteristics of bhakti are the same. This is about in sadhan and siddha. The characteristics of bhakti are the same in both these stages. Therefore, the intrinsic characteristics of bhakti are endeavors for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness performed with favorable sentiments. Therefore, if the sentiment is favorable, then this is going to produce a very positive result for the sadhak or the siddha. While we are discussing the intrinsic characteristics, Swarup Lakshan of Bhakti, it is also necessary to describe the extrinsic characteristics, the Tatashta Lakshan. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained that there are two Tatashta Lakshan. The first is having no other desires, and the second is freedom from the covering of gyan, karma, and other such endeavors. So this is the effort that the bhakta has to make. First of all, he has to make the endeavor to be freed from other desires. All anyabilasita shunyam. What does that mean? That means all desires are expelled. Shunyam. They're no longer there. Huh?
Zero.
What, sunya is zero, yes. Expelled. All other desires gone. That's the first aspect. Then the second is the covering of gyan and karma. Jnana karmadi anavrita. This is the verse that we're discussing. And other such endeavors. So we'll see how much Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining. Any ambition other than desire for progress in bhakti goes against bhakti and comes in the category of other desires. Gyan, karma, yoga, and renunciation are said to be antagonistic to bhakti when they are strong enough to cover the heart. The bhakta has to become very honest with himself and his activities. If he allows himself to be illusioned by various desires that rise in his heart that are not conducive to the path of bhakti, these weeds that is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that can grow along with the bhakti lata, we have to be very careful. Guru will point these out in one way or another, either subtly or grossly. We should tune into that, and he'll illuminate us in what are we being restricted. We're all being restricted by something. We all have some defect because we're not Siddha Purushas all sitting here. So there's all some defect here. So it applies to all of us. So all of us have to examine what is the degree of the purity of my intention to please Krishna. If my intention to please Krishna, Anukul, is supreme, then these anarthas, these distractions, gyan and karma in particular. Sometimes devotees think, oh, by accumulating lots of gyan, this is going to be very helpful. If I can sit and speak, give a discourse, and I'm saying so many shlokas and I'm explaining so many aspects of the scripture, is this all just to please Krishna? There's two types of gyan, tat padartha gyan and tvam padartha gyan. Tat padartha gyan is knowledge of Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan, Raso Vaisa, that supreme, that Shaktiman. These areas of descriptions of Krishna are favorable. We have to know who is Krishna. And knowledge of the Jiva, Tvam Padartha Gyan, we have to know that also, that I am Anuchit, I am an eternal servant of Krishna. This is all favorable for bhakti. This gyan is favorable, Tat Padartha Gyan and Tvam Padartha Gyan. Both of these are favorable. But when it's Jiva Brahm Aikya Gyan, knowledge for the impersonal Brahman, that is not favorable. Any ambition other than desire for progress in bhakti goes against bhakti and comes in the category of other desires. Gyan, karma, yoga, and renunciation are said to be antagonistic to bhakti when they are strong enough to cover the heart. Covering the heart, what does that mean? That means my deeper aspiration is to gain gyan rather than bhakti. We must have met people of this caliber, because there are such people around that haven't been purified sufficiently by the touch of a Mahabhagavat's glance to actually come across these hurdles. We actually need this touch of the Mahabhagavat's glance to come across these hurdles. Therefore, pure bhakti may be described as the cultivation of activities that are favorably disposed to Sri Krishna, free from both the above antagonistic characteristics. Vijay, what are the various distinctive characteristics of bhakti? You have to keep me updated on the time.
7 more minutes.
Huh?
7 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. Ah, lost my. Babaji, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:117, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the following 6 special characteristics of bhakti. This is a most glorious, beautiful verse. Kleshagni Shubhada, Moksha Lukharta Krit Sudurlabha, Sandra Ananda Visheshatma, Shri Krishna Akashani Chasa. Kleshagni, 1. She destroys all kinds of distress. If our bhakti is on track, there's no real distress in our life. We know that my life is actually successful because I'm successfully doing the best with my adhikar, my previous impressions, and I'm walking towards Krishna. So it's successful. I'm feeling completely hopeful and positive, and destroys all kinds of distress. Klesh. Klesh means suffering. This gni is like incinerated. These sufferings become incinerated by our sadhan bhakti. These are the first 2 are the characteristics of sadhan bhakti. The next 2, the characteristics of bhav bhakti, and the next 2 are the characteristics of prema bhakti. We have to be absolutely clear on this. What is sadhan bhakti? What is bhav bhakti? And what is prema bhakti? And we've said so many times, if our sadhan bhakti is not being focused on bhav bhakti, then what is the use of our sadhan bhakti? It's 0, because then it must be focused on something else. If it's not being focused on bhav, then what else is it focused on? Gyan or karma? Understand? It's a progression. So, Kleshagni, she destroys all kinds of distress. 2. Shubhada, she awards all kinds of good fortune. Yes, it's like in our lives, there's no hitches, there's no extreme difficulties, really, materially even. Yogamaya comes and she clears the ground for the devotee, for the sadhak. He can move forward quite easily because Krishna wants the devotee to come to him. So he'll make all kinds of arrangements that are conducive for his material welfare, to give him encouragement and strength to come to him. Krishna will arrange this. This is Shubhada. This is she awards all kinds of good fortune. First of all, distress goes, then good fortune comes. Then the next 2, Moksha Lukharta Krit. She makes Krit, the pleasure of impersonal liberation, appear laguta, insignificant. This liberation is very attractive at the time of sadhana. When it becomes difficult, we just want to be liberated from this material condition because so much suffering can come. It's a fact. We want this liberation when we don't have a clear vision of the meaning of liberation. So this liberation we discussed extensively in the 18th chapter, and the futility and insignificance of it. So when the bhakta sees that with absolute distaste or disdain, he looks down upon liberation. It's not what he wants. Trying to come to the path of liberation is completely fruitless. Sudurlabha, she is rarely achieved. This bhav bhakti is very rare because people get hijacked by the desire for liberation along the way. All of a sudden, liberation comes in your grasp. She appears before you. Oh, my dear sadhak, my dear bhakt, come with me. I will liberate your conscience. Then all of a sudden, our mind becomes illuminated. Everything becomes very sweet and tasty, and I'm moving. But there's no Krishna. There's no hunger to perform devotion to Krishna. There's only desire for my own satisfaction, ultimately. My own well-being and bliss has taken priority over my seva. Sudurlabha, she is rarely achieved. Sandra Ananda Visheshatma. Her nature is imbued with the most intense and superlative pleasure. What does Sandra mean? Sandra means that nothing else can enter. That's what the word Sandra means. Nothing else can enter except Ananda. Sandra Ananda. Only bliss can enter. That's pretty good, huh? Only bliss can come in. Nothing else can go in. It has the dynamics of only accepting bliss. That is called prem. Only bliss, Sandra Ananda, Visheshatma. Her nature is imbued with the most intense and superlative pleasure, because nothing else can come in except pleasure. 6. Sri Krishna Akashani. She is the sole means to attract Krishna. This prem will attract the Lord by our seva. He will become attracted by our seva. Then our seva can be so much more increased. If Krishna is attracted to our seva, then we want to attract, just like the gopis. The gopis are so attracted to Krishna. By that attraction they have Krishna, Krishna becomes more attracted to them. And by that attraction that Krishna has for them, they become more attracted to him. And then Krishna becomes more attracted again, and it goes on like this, escalating more and more and more. This appreciation of attraction for between the sadhak and Krishna, or the siddha. Prem is at the stage of siddha. Prem cannot be achieved in the conditioned state in this particular body. The body is not capable of holding the potency, the power of prem. It would just explode. It can't hold it. But it's competent to hold bhav, the stage prior to prem. Sudha Sattva Visheshatma Prem Suryavam Samyabhak Ruchi Bis Chitta Vishnu Shud Ashu Bhav Uchyate. This is the description of Bhav Bhakti. It's a ray of the sun of Prem. And we can achieve that ray of the sun of Prem in this birth, but not Prem itself, which is described here as this Sandra Ananda Visheshatma Sri Krishna Akashani Chasa. What's the time now? Finish. Huh?
6, exact 6.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there because it's not an easy circumstance we have today. I think all the devotees here are pouring with sweat and no wind. All day has been, this is the worst season of the year, but no light also. But very, very wonderful inspirations for study here. Now you should all study Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, find these 2 particular verses and unpack their meanings further. Then we can appreciate these writings further of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's giving us all the guidelines, all the stepping stones. Anyabilasita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnanu shilam bhakti uttam. My Gurudev would describe this verse every single festival he ever had. He had hundreds of festivals around the world, and the first thing he would establish, what is Shuddha Bhakti? Don't be confused. It's not Gyan and it's not Karma. And what is these favorable acts towards Krishna? So pure Bhakti has to be appreciated. Then what are the characteristics of pure Bhakti? These 6, Kleshagni, etc. Very, very beautiful. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue and pray to our divine masters that perhaps they'll give us some power and light with some fan tomorrow and make it more simple for us to absorb. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Shuddha Bhakti ki jai, Abhideya Tattva ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaut Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.